All right, so we're going to make a small video on how to write square root functions given its graph. All right, so we should know how to graph square root functions already. All right, we should know the format of a square root function. Does anybody remember that? The format of a square root function? Y equals what? A square root. What's inside the square root? X minus h and then plus k. Perfect. Okay, so we should be comfortable with this format already, and we should know everything that the a does, the h does, and the k does, right? The a, if it's negative, it reflects over the x-axis. If it's a value greater than 1, it's a vertical stretch. If it's a fraction or decimal between 0 and 1, it's a vertical compression. The h, you think opposite of h because of the minus sign, and that tells you your shift left or right. And the k value is your shift up or down. Okay, so we should know this stuff pretty well. I want us to know it so well that we could look at a graph and be able to write the actual equation. All right, so let's begin with something very basic, the parent graph. On Desmos, please go ahead and type in y equals the square root of x, and you should see the parent graph right here. I mean, and if we even wanted to think of it by hand, you could say, okay, parent graph, input output table. You want to plug into the square root of x. It's kind of small. Let me write it bigger. Y equals the square root of x. You want to plug in right here into the square root. So obviously, you would like a perfect square number, even though you could plug in any number you want. You would like to plug in a 0. The square root of 0 is 0. The square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 4 is 2. And the square root of 9 is 3. And that's where we get these coordinates. That's where we get this graph from. 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2, because the square root of 4 is 2. And if you went out to 9, which is off the screen, it would be up at 3 somewhere. Or not somewhere, but exactly at 3. So these are the coordinates that produce this graph. I hope we all understand that parent graph, yeah? Now, what happens if I put the a value of 2? What happens to this graph? Like if my a value is no longer 1, right here the a value is 1 because there's no number in the front, but if there's an actual a value of 2, what's going to happen to the graph? It's going to get vertically stretched, okay? So it's going to get vertically stretched. Now, what I want you to do before you type in a 2, I want you to see that the beginning point is the hk, which there is no hk, so that's why it's 0, 0. And the next nice point that we get to is this coordinate right here, 1, 1, right? Just want you to think about that. Now I want you to go back and type in a 2 in front of the square root. And then see what happens to this graph right here. Type in a 2 on Desmos, and you should see this right here. So obviously, just like you guys said, it got vertically stretched, okay? But I want you to notice that the beginning point was the hk value. That's the most important point, the 0, 0 value in this case, because there is no h, there is no k. And the next nice point, as I go from left to right, the next nice point is right here at that location, right? That location right there. Okay. How many units did I actually go up from here to here? How many units did I go up? 2, right? On the parent graph, it only went up 1, and that made sense because the a value was 1. Right here, the a value is 2. It went up 2 before I got to my next nice point. What I would like you to do now is change that 2 in the front to a 3. You're going to see it vertically stretched even further. And as you can see, now with the 3 as the a value, it stretches it all the way up to there. That next nice point is not 1 unit up, 2 units up, it's actually 3 units up because the a value is 3. So guess what happens if I had this point? If this point was up here, what would that a value be? 4, exactly. So if you go back and change it to a 4, you're going to see that it went from 0, 0 to the next nice point up here at 1, 4, right? So what I'm trying to get at here with this little exercise on Desmos is you could look at a square root function graph and compare the first point to the next nice point, and that will tell you the a value that's out in front of your function. Right? Okay. And not only that, the beginning point, in this case 0, 0, that is your h and k. So all you really need to graph a square root function is the a, the h, and the k. Just like parabolas, all you need are 3 things: a, h, and k. A, you're going to be able to get by looking at the beginning point and the next nice coordinate. The h and k, you're actually going to get with the x, y values of that beginning point. Okay. So if I didn't know what this graph was, I would be like, okay, what's my hk value? Oh, my hk is the coordinate 0, 0. So I know my h, I know my k, and then all I need now to figure out what this function is my a value. So my a value is what? Well, I look at my beginning point and I'm like, okay, where's the next nice point at? There it is. What level am I at? I'm at 4, so my a value is 4. So now that I know that my a value is 4 and my h and my k value are 0, I can now use the format y equals a square root x minus h plus k on the outside of the square root. So using that format would be y equals the 4 that's out in the front, square root x minus h, which is 0, plus k, which is 0 also. So that would be how I could get the actual function from the graph. And that's what we're going to ask you to do on the quiz itself. So check this one out. I know you guys don't have this on your paper or on your Chromebooks, but let's take a look at this. This you can't really do this off of Desmos, right? Like I give you a graph, how the heck are you going to come up with the equation? You need to know that you need 3 things to write an equation of this graph. The 3 things are a, you also need an h value, and also a k value, right? So could anybody tell me any of those 3 values that I need? Okay, the h value. Okay, how about this? And you're right, the h value will be a -3, but let's start by identifying the beginning point, and let's just write it down. That beginning point right there is the coordinate what? -3, comma, -1. Perfect. Okay, so when you write that point down anywhere, you know that your h value is -3 and your k value is -1. Okay, so we have h -3, k -1. Super easy, right? Now the a value, based on what we just learned a couple of seconds ago, what is the a value here? From this point, from this beginning point, how many levels do I go down 2, right? 1 level, 2 levels to get to the next nice point. So what must your a value be if it's going down instead of up? -2. Perfect. So now we know that the a value is -2. And we could actually write our y equals a square root x minus h, and then plus k on the outside of the square root. Whoops, k in red. And then we would just substitute those values. Y equals a value -2 square root x minus the -3, and then so it'll become plus, and then plus k is plus -1, and of course we're going to clean it up, changing the minus to plus, and this plus negative we're just going to put a minus sign. So our answer is y equals -2 square root of x plus 3 minus 1 on the outside of the square root. I mean, pretty crazy. We're even able to, we're so advanced on this that we're able to take the graph and now write the radical function that produces that graph. Pretty awesome, huh? Just like parabolas, the only thing you need to write an equation is the a, the h, and the k. Back in parabolas, the hk was easy. That was your vertex. Right here, the hk is just as easy. It's your beginning point. So just write down the coordinate, label it hk, boom, you got your 2 answers, or your 2 values that you need. You need one more value, you need the a. Just start from your beginning point. It might be going up, and if it's going up and it goes just to 1 level, then the a value is 1. If it's going up and it goes 2 levels, then the a value is 2. If it's going down and it's going 3 levels, then a value is -3. So I hope we understand that. Do we? Yeah. Let's try one with inequalities now. Check that graph out. Obviously, you don't have this on your screen, but what could you guys tell me that's of importance right here? What are the 3 things that we need? Let's begin with that. What are the 3 things that we need? A, H, K. So could anybody tell me any of those? Okay, so by labeling this point right here, the coordinate 1 on the x, 2 on the y, 1, 2, I know that my h is 1 and my k is 2. Perfect. Thank you, guys. The a value is all, yeah, all right. How do you know the a value is 1? Yeah, 1 unit up, 1 unit to the right. So we only went up one level to get to the next nice coordinate. So if it would have been like up here, then the a value would have been 2. Or if it would have been like way up there, a value would have been 3. Or if it would have been 1 down here, then the a value would have been -1, right? So right here, the a value is 1. The h value, we said, is 1, and the k value is 2. So now we're able to plug it into y equals a, which is 1, which we're not even going to actually need to type in, with the x minus 1 minus the h value of 1, and then plus k plus the k value of 2. So what we're going to have to type in onto oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I wrote it as an equation. It's not an equation. It's an inequality because it's shaded. So greater than would be the replacement for the equal sign. So this should read y is greater than the square root of x minus 1 plus 2 on the outside. Now, why is it just greater than? Because we could see dotted right here. It's the graph itself is not solid. If it would have been solid, there would have been a greater than or equal to. Or if it would have been shaded below, it would have been less than, right? Or if it would have been solid and shaded below, less than or equal to. Let's try another one of these. What? Let's zoom in a bit here. Okay, what could you guys tell me? Okay, so all right, you guys already gave me everything I needed. A, the h, and the k. So we started with the a being -3. Okay, so yeah, the beginning point is here, and it's going down 1 unit. I'm still not at a nice coordinate. 2 units, still not at a nice coordinate. 3 units, bam, I'm at a nice coordinate. So it's going down 3 levels, and the a value is -3. Perfect. And of course, the h and k we get from the location of that beginning point, and that location is -2 on the x, -1 on the y. So -2 on the x, -1 on the y. And we are plugging it into y equals a square root of x minus h, and then on the outside of the square root plus k. So I'm going to just rewrite it, but with blank spots. Yes, and I usually wait till the end, and we'll get to that right now. Plus the k value. So the h value is -2. The k value is -1. Whoops, sorry about that. -1. And the a value is -3. And yes, you're right. This is not an equal sign. This is what kind of inequality? Less than, because it's shaded below, and less than or equal to, because that is a solid graph. If it were a dotted line right there, then it'd just be a less than. But because it's solid, it's going to be a less than or equal to. So this should be a less than or equal to right there. So to clean it up, we're going to change the minus to plus plus. The plus minus, we're just going to write it as one minus sign. So y is less than or equal to -3 square root of x plus 2 minus 1. That's your final answer right there. That's pretty crazy, just being able to look at a graph and being able to come up with the square root inequality there. Good job, guys. I think that'll get you ready for the hardest type of questions with regards to this section.